Hi, everyone. It's Brendan Lease here. I'm excited to be back to talk about new developments in the world of e-commerce. Most specifically today, revisiting the world of payments and fraud. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Michael Habermann, our Senior Director of Payment Operations, who works to bring our commerce solution services to life. Michael, thanks so much for joining me today to talk about fraud in a bit more depth. Every time we chat, I learn something new, so I'm sure today will be no different, and I'm really excited to have you. So, just kind of kicking things off to get the conversation going. We've had a lot of conversations over the past few months, and it's clear that when it comes to the world of payments and fraud, fraudsters are really developing more complex, scalable methods to scam merchants. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then maybe talk a little bit about how AI factors into it, maybe some trends you're seeing? Give us a little bit of a lay of the land.
Yeah, it's great to be with you again, Brendan. I love it. So this is a subject I'm super passionate about. But I think if you look at your everyday life and how AI factors into that, in the fraud world, AI has really changed the game overall. So it's really enabled fraudsters to commercialize their efforts, and how they conduct their attacks. So it's a very, I'll say, highly coordinated, data driven usage that they're doing right now. And really what's happened is it's brought in like these force multipliers. So this data driven approach has really allowed them to operate across different geographies, and really make things, like you mentioned earlier, scalable. It's highly profitable and it's well run. So much of the way we invest tools as merchants, or as vendors, we have these great tools at our fingertips now with the onset of technology, and things keep getting better and better. Fraudsters have done the same thing with the tools that are at their fingertips, and they've used an ecosystem of different marketplaces, dark web forums, Telegram channels, private messaging back and forth to both recruit and to help share best practice on how to scale attacks. So what was once considered, an opportunistic way to make money has now become much more organized, and it's very structural. So as an example, there might be different forums that just focus on, fraudsters that are doing account takeovers, or maybe certain different types of card attacks, where they're testing multiple cards over and over. There might be, fraudsters that just specialize in social engineering or returns abuse. So again, it's very organized. It's very well thought through, and sometimes can be hard for merchants to adjust to that new world.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's a little bit scary to think about, like, basically much more sophistication and enhancing it through crowdsourcing. This collaborative fraud across the globe is really complex, and I'm sure is extremely challenging for folks to defend against. So, as we think about how complex that is, how fraud is growing more complex, how can a merchant fight back? Does AI have a role in that too?
Yeah. So the great news is that merchants aren't powerless. Merchants really need to focus on their approach and evaluate where their gaps are. And this can be done through, a data-driven approach that's built for scale, speed, and adaptability. So as I talked about, merchants being able to really, scale their attacks. Systems that merchants use should be built in the same manner to adapt. So really, it's about looking at transactions holistically and across a broad network, to get a better sense of who's transacting with you. And you have to test, and you have to learn, and you have to address these modern fraud attacks. Your fraud system should be built to scale, and agentic is really raising the stakes when it comes to that. So when we talk about agentic commerce, it's really, we spent years and years identifying what look like, agentic or bot activity, I'll say. So really it's about distinguishing between what good automation is and what bad automation looks like. Um, and anytime that a merchant is, thinking about going down the agentic route, um, your fraud leadership teams and your fraud teams really need to have a seat at the table when it comes to deploying, these types of methods. It's super, super important.
Now it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we're all sprinting towards this. How do we use AI most effectively? Building agents, building workflows. Um, but I'm sure these fraudsters are kind of systematically doing the same thing on the other side to break those workflows or break into these systems and be able to do the damage that they do. So it's an interesting cat and mouse game, I'm sure. But one of the things that you mentioned while you were chatting is kind of about identifying who it is that's on your site or shopping from you or trying to make a purchase or what they're using to make those purchases. So when as a marketer for commerce solutions as well as other radio services, a lot of the times you hear about in the world of e-commerce, we got to make things easier, we got to make things more convenient. So a ton of merchants, retailers, brands have been working for years to reduce the amount of friction that consumers experience at checkout, because any friction you introduce could be the difference between clicking that buy button and going somewhere else. So is this really the way people should still be thinking about it, given what you've kind of educated us about fraud?
Frictionless is going to be your number one goal. That's going to be your North Star, no matter what. And deliberate decisions should be made when talking about that and when you want to introduce that sort of friction in your checkout. And I think it also needs to make sense on obviously what product you're selling, what vertical you're in. It's going to make a lot more sense to put friction into place. Like I mentioned, a lot of these different channels that they're getting information out of, they're using valid cart numbers that are out there. There's valid email addresses out there that are aged. The shipping addresses all make sense. They're all legitimate addresses. So being super deliberate about when you're introducing that friction it's very important. And I think it's one of those things too where it needs to be consistent, and your customers should expect it. But it's really about the how and the when to introduce that.
Part of me wonders, like with consumers, just in our day-to-day lives, what we're experiencing with AI, how we're using it, sort of the understanding and maybe benefits and drawbacks of it. Like maybe that friction becomes more of an acceptable thing too, because you're like, all right, we know what's going on out there, so let's make sure everything is legit.
Yeah, you can use friction can be used to your benefit. Again, you can use it to build trust with your customer, but if it's put in the wrong spot or it's not expected, then that can definitely drive up either contacts or erode trust.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely two of the worst things you can do when you're trying to get, repeat customers or get that first new customer to come to you and buy from you. So very, very interesting to try and manage that. It's kind of that merchant's dilemma of how we make sure it's safe and secure, but also easy. Sounds simple, but it's really not. Um, so, earlier this year, we launched our new set of commerce solutions. Y'all did an awesome job putting together a really, really powerful set of different ways to manage payments, fraud, everything. How do Radial's commerce solutions help to solve where fraud is and where it's going?
So, Radial Commerce Solutions is a enterprise grade fraud prevention tool that is easy to adopt and can scale with your business. So we can help you grow your business while having a future-proof solution for you to grow your business as well. So it's a fully managed solution that's product-driven through and through. We're focused on helping merchants grow, but also adapt to what the new world of agentic might look like, or things like returns abuse. So we have a adaptive machine learning and network data driven solution that really makes a difference when it comes to getting higher approval rates, lowering your fraud overall, and then taking that operational burden off your plate. So really, it's in the end, it's going to be a better experience for your customer, and help you again grow your business.
That's great. I think, the way you were talking about fraud and the various different like touch points and where it can happen. You mentioned returns, there's payments, there's stolen cards, there's, account takeovers, there's address validation. There's so many different points where, fraud can be identified or can kind of happen. So having that fully managed broad solution is really important so that you're kind of attacking it from all angles. I have to imagine that's, a really powerful part of how our clients see the benefit of the Commerce Solutions portfolio. It's the way you guys think about it makes a lot of sense. I don't know if everybody does think about it like holistically at that level. So that's why it's always interesting to talk to you because you always know so much. And like I said earlier, I always learn something. So um, that was really all I had today. I really appreciate the time, Mike. And yeah, if there's anything else, you want to mention, happy to do that. Or, I'll give you the rest of your day.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it. It's great talking with you again.
Yeah, anytime. I'm sure I will be back asking more questions very, very soon.